Hello everyone, and welcome back to Nine Talks Boxing. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you for getting me to 600 subscribers. It means a lot. Ultimately, I know I said that this content is personally for my enjoyment, but if you enjoy my content too, that means a lot. So a big thank you for that. But anyway, let's get back to the video, because we're about to witness the return of big time British boxing in Britain, with the first Riyadh season events to take place in Britain and an undercard stacked with all British fights. I will put a pinned comment in chat for those who only want to hear the main event prediction, but without further ado, let's get into it. Now up first we got a 10-round fight between Chamberlain and Josh Padley. Now these guys actually had a bit of aggro in the weigh-in. Chamberlain pushed Josh Padley, but you know, as these guys are making weight, it gets more and more intense. That's usually the case. But yeah, Chamberlain scored some statement victories as of recent, most notably inside the first round against Joshua Wahab last time out, and also a stoppage against former British and Commonwealth champ Gavin Gwynn. Josh Padley, on the other hand, I mean, he's relatively unknown outside of like inner circles and everything, with his best win being the 41-year-old Jimmy First, who was best known for beating Boxer Tournament finalist Corey Gibbs. Padley beat Jimmy First for the Central Area title, but since then his opposition has been fairly limited. He comes into this fight with a lot of mystery, and for that reason it's hard to pick against the Chamberlain stoppage. If I had to say a round, I would say around round 7. However, with someone little known as Padley, it's important to know that it's hard to predict these fights. So I mean, who knows? We now have a fight that I believe is extremely slept on, maybe partly because of the fact that Ismael Davis is a late replacement for the much more well-known Liam Smith. I may even go as far to say that I prefer this fight to the Smith one. Since his European title loss to David Avanesian, Josh Kelly has been on the rebuild process for the past few years on Sauer and Channel 5 shows, and that included a move up super welterweight, which his last few fights have been at. His best win out of these rebuild fights was for the British title against Troy Williamson, an opponent him and Ismael Davis have both beat over 12 rounds, so it's an interesting thing to gauge off. What makes this fight interesting for me is both have a tendency to fade later in fights from what I've seen, so whoever can control the pace they're like in early will have the upper hand in my opinion. Another factor is the weight. Both men last fought at 154 pounds, but because of the short notice this fight is happening at middleweight, 160 pounds. So whoever fits the weight best could be a factor too. Davis looks absolutely massive. I'm going to go with Kelly on the points decision, but don't sleep on Ismael Davis because he really is a live dog in this fight in my opinion. Now this fight is one that not many were expecting, but it's certainly an exciting one. Josh Warrington steps up super featherweight to fight reigning IBF and IBO super featherweight champion Anthony Kachi. However, it's important to note that the IBF title is not on the line in this fight. Kachi is actually the older man in the fight, but he doesn't seem like it because Josh Warrington has more miles on the clock as a pro, both in terms of taking punishment and the general number of fights. Momentum is also on the side of Kachi, with a stunning victory against Joe Cordina last time out, upsetting the odds with a 7th round stoppage to win the IBF title. Warrington, on the other hand, is coming off a knockout loss to Lee Wood. It was a fight he was winning, but ultimately one that he wasn't, when he got dropped with a devastating combination in round 7. Another thing that's on the side of Kachi is the weight, of course. Kachi has been at super featherweight for many years, perhaps even as long as he has been a pro, I can't remember. Warrington is coming into a world title fight and his first fight at the weight. In my opinion, all signs point to a Kachi win, but I believe it will be on a points decision, unlike many who predict him to win via stoppage. I also personally believe that Warrington could be on the slide. Now this fight is intriguing. There's been a lot of needle in the build-up for this. Joshua Buatsi and Willie Hutchinson are fighting for the WBO interim championship at light heavyweight. Both of these guys also share a mutual opponent in the world title challenger, Craig Richards. Dubois and Richards had a dogfight, and Hutchinson put on a clinic on Richards. However, as the cliche goes, styles make fights. Hutchinson has not put a foot wrong since moving up from super middleweight, following his first defeat, with the Richards win getting him straight into the mix and getting him into this fight. Dubois' career, on the other hand, has stagnated for a while now, with solid wins at domestic and European level, but lacking the bridging fights between European and world level. With this fight being for an interim title, the winner will be in good place to fight the winner of Better Beevil, or get elevated if the belts fragment. So this fight is a must win. Contrary to many, I picked Hutchinson to beat Richards, and I know Dubois is a different fighter, but I am predicting Hutchinson to pull it off via decision. That said, this one is a tricky one to pick, and many are split down the middle, as it is basically a conventional fighter against an unconventional one. But yeah, Hutchinson on points for me. And now we're at the co-main event. Tyler Denny defends his European middleweight championship for the second time against the highly talented Hamza Sheras. Talk about two fighters who have had completely different careers. Sheras has had the backing of Frank Warren from either at the start of his career or close to the start, and has built his name through Queensberry promotions through and throughout. In fact, Frank Warren had so much belief in Sheras that he made him Queensberry team champion in the Queensberry Matchroom 5v5, and what a great decision that was. Sheras knocked out Williams in a grueling battle, but showed maturity and composure in a very solid fighter in Williams. Prior to that, he stopped another Williams inside the round, this time Liam Williams. Many hardcore fans will remember his fight with Bradley Skeet a few years back, where Skeet was way up on the cards, but got caught with controversial punches by Sheras and eventually got stopped by him. Personally, I believe Sheras has evolved from this fight, with better shot selection, patience and opportunism. On the other hand, the champion Tyler Denny has done it all the hard way, losing 2 fights on his way up, and eventually getting a breakthrough initially by winning the English title against River Wilson Bent, but ultimately when he got on to fight Brad Ray in his first defence on the Sky Sports show under promoter Ben Shalom. Following his unexpected victory over Brad Ray, Denny continued to fight on the platform, which included a win over then European champion Matteo Signani, recording his first stoppage win when Signani's corner refused to send him out. Then he scored another upset in his first defence against Felix Cash on the Matchroom show, where he dominated most of the fight and won on a technical decision due to a cut. Then he didn't particularly excel in one area from what I've seen, but he's a good all-rounder. Decent speed, decent jab, solid inside work and decent defence, but ultimately I feel you need to do something exceptionally to beat someone like Sheras. I've got Sheras by 8th round stoppage. I expect him to target the body, as Denny was hurt there by Brad Ray, and hurt pretty badly as well there, and also use that set of punches to the head. I'd like to be wrong with this fight though, because I'm a big Tyler Denny fan. But yeah, for me, Hamza Sheras by 8th round stoppage. And here we are, the main event of the evening. Daniel Dubois defends his newly won IBF heavyweight title in front of 96,000 fans at Wembley. Sorry, Cartfroch. His opponent, former 2-time unified heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua. The stakes are absolutely high. The pair are no strangers to all British boxing stalemates, with Joshua fighting Dillian White back in 2015 and Dubois taking his first professional defeat to Joe Joyce a few years later. The loss to Joyce has been a big talking point, regarding the champion for a while, having been labelled a quitter, and he didn't help himself in his fight against Usyk with these allegations, with the fight ending in a similar manner. However, since that fight he has silenced some of the doubters, pulling out a grueling win against durable American Jarrell Miller, coming through some tough moments to get the stoppage in the final minute of the fight. And similarly, and his fight with Croatian Olympian Filip Hrgović, where he overcame some hairy moments early, including eating some heavy right hands to give as good as he got to ultimately overwhelm the increasingly tiring Hrgović to win the title. He goes into this fight with heavy confidence, knowing he has been battle tested now and came through it. Joshua, on the other hand, has faced a lengthy rebuilding process of his own. Many fans believed he was not the same after the Andy Ruiz defeat, with passive performances all the way from the rematch in December of that year until, I would argue, December of last year, 2023, where he finally found the key formula of combining the elements of the bygone Anthony Joshua we saw come up through the ranks and the more passive Joshua we saw in the fights after, including those with Alexander Usyk, where he was comprehensively outboxed in the first fight and unable to impose himself. And despite a better effort in the second fight, it wasn't enough again. But after experimenting with various trainers, he found this match in former Tyson Fury trainer Ben Davidson. Since linking up with Ben, Joshua has put on impressive showings against Otto Wallin and Francis Ngannou in Riyadh season events, and is the favourite to win in this fight. But Dubois used to be an underdog with his last fight. Personally, despite feeling it was beneficial for his confidence, it always concerns me how open Dubois was to those right hands against Hrgović and how wide his stance typically is. And because of this, when playing out the fight, I can't see past an uppercut or straight right hand from AJ, some of his best shots, may I add, wiping out Daniel Dubois. With these kind of predictions, it's not always easy to pick around, but I'm going to do it for the sake of the video. I'm going to say round 6 knockout for Anthony Joshua. But with that said, I'd like Dubois to get it done. I'd like to say a big thank you for tuning into this video, and of course if you enjoyed it, leave a like or a comment and let me know your thoughts and predictions on these fights.